Okay, history has been made by Morocco against Portugal in the third World Cup semi-final. It's finished 1-0, but in reality, what has just occurred is the first team from the continent of Africa has made a semi-final. The first Arab team, culturally, has made a semi-final. Portugal, much like Belgium and Spain and Croatia before them, couldn't score. There's a reason why Morocco have made it to a semi-final. This is not a shock. It's a surprise, yes. On paper, they shouldn't, but with the way they have played in this tournament, it is not a shock. It's only a shock for those who believe the rags of the newspapers and the TV stations going, this shouldn't happen. Because this team plays as a unit, they play with commitment, and they have got a threat going forward. This isn't purely park the bus, smash and grab football, although the second half, unfortunately, with injuries and eventually a send-off, ultimately they end up playing with every available defensive player they can get their hands on the field. This is a team that knows their roles, is quite happy to give up 60-70% possession, because the way they defend outwards. They don't turn their backs on the ball. There's always this kind of defensive box around the goalkeeper. They defend in units of 3 and 4, so they'll have a zone on the field where that group of players will go to shut down channels and out balls and man mark, and then they will move in their units. They're also bloody good on the counter-attack. They've got pace. Ziyech and Hakim. Portugal didn't like that. Amrabat in midfield is a mix of Claude Makelele, Mascherano, with the distribution of a Paul Scholes, except unlike Paul Scholes, he can actually tackle. I mentioned he had a bit of Ray Parlour in him as well, because he's got good feet. Not only is he a defensive midfielder who can break up opposition attacks, he can distribute and start attacks, and he's been doing that all tournament. And they've only conceded 1 goal, which was an own goal. So technically they've not conceded a goal that was scored by the other side. They haven't conceded a goal from open play since the opening match of the group stage. They've beaten Belgium 2-0 comfortably. They were comfortable in that game. Spain and Croatia didn't create anything against them, quite frankly. And Portugal, well, they created more opportunities and had more shots on goal than the 3 previous teams combined. Couldn't beat Bono, who's had a fantastic tournament, has pulled off the save of the tournament, in my opinion, from João Felix in the second half. But as I say, on the counter-attack, Morocco are quite comfortable to play this 30% possession but counter-attack style, and a lot of sides are doing it now. And for long periods, Portugal were too slow and methodical in possession. Not quick enough in possession. So yeah, you can have the ball, but if you move the ball quickly with 60-70%, you're going to score. If you move it slowly and allow a very organised team anyway that's very well drilled, fitness is second to none, commitment is second to none, the teamwork is there, they're committed for each other, you're going to find it difficult. And even with Ronaldo on or off the field, it doesn't matter. And what I've also noticed is teams who score heavily in the previous game are struggling at this round. Brazil struggling out. Portugal obviously scored a hatful in the last round of 16, out. So just because you can score goals against a very passive, open defensive side, when you come up against an organised, hard-working team that knows their roles in defence and then in attack is fully happy to use width and pace to target defensive weaknesses in the opposition because they've drawn them in, you're going to end up with a goal like Youssef En-Nesyri's goal, which was Ronaldo-esque as in commentary, but actually is a very, very well worked, quick thinking, bang, get the ball out, get the ball in the wide area, get it in. I don't know what the goalkeeper and the centre-back are doing, because the centre-back is obviously in a bad position anyway, body position. He's allowed En-Nesyri to win that body position battle, and then he doesn't even attempt to jump. And when he tries to jump, the ball's already being headed in. And then the goalkeeper, I will say this, if you are unsure as a goalkeeper, stay on your line. You have a better chance of stopping the ball. If you're unconfident, the defence is going to feel unconfident. I'm not sure what the communication's like, but he stutters and then he decides to go, and he's also beaten for position. That's a bullet of a header, and it's a bullet of a cross. That wasn't the only chance Morocco had. Let's be clear on this. They were showing threats on the counter-attack, and there's also a very, very good save later on by the Portuguese goalkeeper when it could have been made 2-0. And this follows on from João Felix having his shot saved fantastically by Bono. The Moroccan goalkeeper is lining himself up for a big move to a big club, I think. I know he plays in La Liga, but I think other clubs will be looking at their goalkeeper going, Yeah, okay, we might need to upgrade in this position. There are Amrabat, for example, I think could be lined up for a big move. I think some of these Moroccan players playing in a different system would work because they play with energy and they play with commitment. They were blocking and tackling everything. And yes, there is a send off in there, and it is deserved because it's two bookings. Is the first booking deserved? No. Is the second one deserved? Yes. But however, with the way this tournament's gone, I'm surprised last night no one was sent off in this game. There were some equally ferocious challenges, but the referee's letting the game flow, keeping his cards in his pocket. The first booking was until like 70 minutes into the game, so the referee was allowing things to flow. And you could see the desperation on the Portuguese players. And Gonçalo Ramos had a brilliant game against Switzerland, and he does have a bright future. He was isolated today. For whatever reason, Portugal couldn't get the ball into him. They bring Ronaldo on and leave Ramos on to begin with. Doesn't work because now he's even more isolated. And Ronaldo obviously doesn't have the pace to get in behind anymore. And he did have a very good opportunity late on in the second half. Again, Bono, brilliant save. And the way that this has worked is, unfortunately, Morocco became more and more defensive. Injuries took their toll. Ziyech has gone off. Sanus has gone off. He played on one leg for the best part of two games. The fact he even started the game is considering that he barely finished the last one with a pulled hamstring. He played 60, 70 odd minutes. That is the commitment this team has. They have been decimated by injury, and they were onto their fifth choice centre back being on the field, and they end up with a back six at one point. And yes, they do end up with 10 men. The first yellow isn't a yellow, really. That's. But with the referee obviously deciding after about 70 minutes, okay, I've let too much go now. I need to set my stall out. But he said it's one of them. However, Portugal were not flexible enough in attack, and when you got Bruno Fernandes being petulant and Bernardo Silva being petulant, that's a sign they're not playing well. We've seen it with United and City, both Manchester clubs, when both those players have a petulant outburst. Generally, a sign that the side they're playing on isn't playing well, and they're not playing well. And whether Ronaldo started or not is irrelevant. Really, I think that's become a distraction, which has negatively impacted this side. It was a distraction before the Swiss game, so he's dropped, and they play better without him. And on the field, they look even more rigid. And there they are throwing the kitchen sink at you, but they're not getting enough shots. And when you're coming up against a very mobile, tall defence, you've got to think outside the box to get round that, especially when you've got shorter and more skillful players. Movement. And they didn't do that. So yes, Morocco, fantastic. History's been made. First team for the continent of Africa to make a semi-final, and the first team from the Arab world to make a semi-final, which is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. Richly deserved, and in my opinion, honestly, Portugal, Brazil, Holland. They, apart from like the odd game where they scored a hatful of goals against really, really disorganised, passive opposition, they've been poor. Scoring hatfuls of goals doesn't mean you're actually going to win the next game. As England found out after scoring a hatful against Iran, they were really poor against the US. So, actually continuing that consistency and energy, Portugal were lacklustre. So there we go. Morocco through to the semi-finals. Let's see what England-France produces. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. Yes, in the end, Morocco did park the bus a little bit after 70 minutes, but that was through necessity rather than choice. I do actually think with the injuries and going through their bench and realising, okay, we have got a problem here. But they also worked out Portugal couldn't break them down. They couldn't work them out, which says something about the Portuguese players who on paper should be ripping this side to pieces. Games aren't won on paper. They're won on the field with attitude, commitment. Yes, some skill in there as well does help, obviously, and having a few class players does help, but attitude and commitment goes a lot further than just pure individual skill. And Portugal looked like a team of individuals, whereas Morocco looked like a team of, individuals as part of a team. Whereas a team full of individuals part of the team. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.